Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is Sipping Tea with Nat and Z. I'm Nat.
And I'm Z.
How you doing today, Z? What's good?
I'm doing all right. I think I may be coming down with a bit of a cold.
Oh
So
no.
I am trying to fight it the best way that I can,
Mhm.
especially in the time of COVID. I
Yes.
don't want this. I don't
Yes.
want this. So I'm trying. I'm drinking, of course, some tea
Tea.
to
Yes.
kind of clear me up. I took some preventative medication.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just hope and pray. My husband, he woke up with the sniffles this morning too. And of course, the 2-year-old's walking around like ain't shit wrong. So who knows where we got this from? Who knows where we got this from?
But
So
also, the temperature change.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm
Summer just
hoping,
backed up and said bye.
yes, it did. But you know me, I love the fall. So I'm all
Yes,
here for this.
I know you
Um,
are.
but it also could just be allergies. Like my
Right.
allergies tend to hit me
Mm-hmm.
the turn of the seasons when it goes from summer to fall and then from winter to spring. That's
Right.
when it hits me the worst. So it could be that. So, we'll see in a couple days.
Right. I'm
We'll
sure you'll be
see.
fine.
How
You'll be
about you?
fine.
What's going on with
Well,
you?
I'm getting ready for surgery tomorrow morning.
That's right.
So trying to get my head right about that. My baby sister came in town on Friday and surprised me with like a little quick getaway, and we had some really great sister time. She helped me organize some things before I'm going into surgery to help me keeps things in order and prioritize and
Right.
navigate some things. So it was really nice before she leaves to go overseas for a couple years again. So
Oh, that's good.
yeah, so it was nice. And then we did a socially distancing birthday party with the neighbors last night. There's three of us, three of the wives in our group. Have birthdays in September. So everybody
Mhm.
had a candle and the cake was like way over by the fire pit and we sang happy birthday. It was it was nice. It was nice. So it was a nice way to kind of get all that out before I'm down for the count for a little while.
Yeah.
So it was good. It was good.
That's good.
So today, this episode, we're on episode 8. It's called Mirror, Mirror on the Wall. Am I worthy of this all? The imposter syndrome. So that should
Yes.
be some good discussion after that.
I think so.
So
I think so.
I think it's so pervasive. A lot of people don't even know what it is until they start talking about it. And they're like,
Mhm.
oh, I have that. So
Yes.
definitely.
I think a lot of people are going to walk away from this episode saying, "Wow, that is what it is. I can put a name
Hmm.
to it
Definitely
finally."
put a name to it.
Yeah.
So what's the tea of the day?
So, again, disclaimer, not tea experts. Disclaimers always got to come with the disclaimers,
Always.
okay? We're not tea experts. You should speak to your doctor when drinking herbal tea, as there could be potential side effects when mixed with some medications. It should definitely not be a substitute for medication. If your doctor prescribes you something, take that shit. We're
Please.
not
Please.
affiliated with any of these companies, nor are these endorsements. But hopefully, one day soon, they will
One
be.
day.
So, we're working on it. We're working on it. So, what's the tea on the table?
All right. So tea on the table today is Yogi Sweet Tangerine Positive Energy Tea, which
Yummy.
which pretty much goes along with, you know, thinking about your positive vibes, even though you may think that you're feeling like you're somebody else with the imposter syndrome. But we wanted to have something upbeat and inspiring as we're talking about what the topic today. So Yogi Sweet Tangerine Positive Energy Tea. That's a long ass name. Combines ashwagandha, an herb traditionally used to uplift.
Ashwagandha. Go ahead, girl, with the pronunciation.
Thank you, boo. Thank you. I didn't trip over that one. I don't know if I could say that again, but we're just gonna leave it right there. But try saying that 5 times.
Mhm.
y'all practice that. So it's used for invigorating. It's an invigorating blend of Assam black tea, yerba mate leaf to help provide energy with notes of lotus flower and tangerine at a sweet, floral, and fruity flavor that can uplift your spirit with an energizing cup of this sweet tangerine positive energy tea. Whoo, Lord. And it's a bright, flavorful blend that's sure to leave you smiling. It has a strong citrusy flavor with a presence of orange, helps support elevated mood and energy levels, which of course we all need and need to be mindful of.
Yes.
So enjoy it. And have you had this one, Z?
I have. I will say that if you're not an orangey fan, this might not be like for you. I
Mm-hmm.
rather enjoyed it. This isn't a tea that I would drink like daily, but it would be a tea that I would be drinking specifically for those purposes of like uplifting my energy. Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes just the smell of citrus can
Yes.
kind of bring
It's
a better
invigorating.
mood. It is, and a
Mm-hmm.
better energy. I've been making candles recently, and citrus is one of the blends that I like to use, grapefruit specifically
Mm-hmm.
because of the smell of it.
Go ahead,
So,
Z, with her own little apothecary in the
yes,
making.
yes, okay.
Well, y'all better stay tuned for that. You're gonna have tea and apothecary, something. Watch.
So, I definitely would suggest it if you're just looking for a quick lift,
Mm-hmm.
and especially when we're with the topic that we're talking about, sometimes it can lead to a lot of self-doubt and
Mm-hmm.
and it could be an energy sucker. So maybe this is
True.
definitely a good tea to kind of bring you back to center. So
Definitely. I,
so let's yeah, I recommend it. So but let's go ahead and get into some hot tea.
ooh, girl, what's going on?
Yeah, I got hot tea on the paper and hot tea in my cup because ooh, this whatever this is, I'm trying to fight it, y'all. I'm trying to fight it. So first, I have Cardi B and Offset. So
Mm-hmm.
Cardi filed for divorce recently,
Yeah.
citing you know what the hell I'm trying to say.
Irreconcilable differences, y'all. That's what she meant to say. That's
I
what
got
she
tongue
said.
tied. I'm sorry.
But
This cold or whatever it is messing with my mind. So, the initial reports indicated that it was due to Offset pretty much cheating the entire relationship. Now, if you remember,
basically,
they got married secretly. He cheated on her. I mean, it just messy. Like you
yeah,
in IG thoughts, DMs, and come on, bruh.
yeah.
So apparently that's what they're saying.
Uh, but you believe
Allegedly it
it.
was due to Offset's cheating.
Mm.
She's refuted the reports by saying it was just due to constant and persistent arguing. They couldn't see eye to
Mm.
eye, and she was just kind of tired of it. So before it got any further, she just decided to pull the plug.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna stick with he was cheating. They said
Mm.
alleged, but I believe it.
Right, that
Okay.
part. I had heard he had a baby on the way too.
Yeah, she refuted that too. So I mean, we'll
Mhm.
see in 9 months. You never
Ooh,
know.
he following in her
Um,
future steps.
yeah, They said Future was his lawyer. They said he was representing him in the divorce trial. Well,
Oh my
so
god.
she when the papers were originally filed,
Uh-huh.
it stated that she wanted primary custody, child support, and the papers kind of made it sound like it was a bit contentious.
Right.
But she didn't like that, so she told her lawyers to go back to refile and indicate to the court that the decision was made amicably and that
Uh-huh.
she's not seeking support of any kind. She still wants the full custody of culture, but other than that, she's trying to make it seem like they're just going to part as friends. I think it's a mature way to handle it.
Right.
But I also think it's a way to save face because if it does come out that he cheated and if it does come out that he has a baby on the way, you know,
Mm.
at least she's like, look, we settled that between us. It was
Right.
cool. I'm cool with it. And I'll say this, like, for what it's worth, people always coming at Cardi sideways. People were
Mhm.
coming at her like, oh, I guess you ain't got that wop. Well, that would make sense if he divorced her, but she's
Mm.
divorcing him.
Him.
So
Yeah.
clearly, I mean, she knows her worth plus tax.
Mhm.
So
And
she
then
decided that it's not a situation she needs to be in. And some people need to kind of
take
realize that
heed.
and take heed to that
'Cause she was
because
getting flack for even when she went back, but she's like, people get married, they gotta work through their
right.
stuff. So mind your business.
Mind your business. A lot of y'all had a lot of stuff to say about Jada and Will. A lot of stuff to say
Man,
about Offset and Cardi. Some of y'all in are entanglements don't even know it.
hello.
Some of y'all in Cardi B Offset relationships don't even know it. So just
Mm,
mind your business. Let grown folks
please.
handle their business.
And it,
Stop putting your expectations on other people's relationships.
boom,
How about that?
boom,
How about that?
shakalaka. That one right
How
there.
about that?
And then having everyone think that you're supposed to see things through their eyes
How
and
about that?
be approved. For
How
what?
about that?
I'm sorry. Are you
Exactly.
me in my house? Are you in my household? Do you pay my
Huh.
tax? Do you pay my property taxes in this household? I think not.
Exactly.
So,
So
mm-mm.
anyway, so we had the what some people have dubbed the Auntie Chella
Boop,
with
boop, boop,
Patty
boop,
and
boop,
Gladys.
boop, boop, boop.
So that versus battle was epic.
Mhm.
It was 612,000 concurrent viewers on IG.
All right now.
Apple Music had about 1.2 million viewers. It was the second highest tweeted battle. Um,
Oh,
and
hell.
here are just a couple things I want to mention about that. People were coming at Patty because of her trunk, her mirrors, and her shoes.
Who
Let me
cares?
tell you something. Patty's
Mm,
77 years old. I don't
thank
care if
you.
she want to come out there with the whole Louis closet. She
Thank
could do
you.
it. She said if people were listening, I'm going to put a show on for you. I haven't been
Ooh,
able to perform. Neither one of us have been able to perform in during this time because of
right.
COVID. Y'all gonna come on here. Y'all want to see a show. I'm gonna give you a show. That's
Mhm.
called professionalism.
Thank
Y'all
you.
just used to these mumble rappers out
They
here that
don't do
don't even
nothing
do nothing, be
with
rapping
a
over their own track.
presentation. Mhm.
Hello.
Thank
The
you.
people wanted to come at her for reading off a teleprompter. Sis been
So,
reading off the teleprompter. She's 77 years old.
back
Half of y'all
up.
can't even remember. Half of y'all grannies and mamas can't even remember y'all names. Be
Hello.
calling you your sister, your uncle, your cousin. And y'all getting on Patty because she done had 100 songs and got to and make sure her lyrics are there.
Thank you. Because you wanna make sure she's straight. Leave
Leave
her
that
and her
lady
and rock
alone.
her red bottoms. People are like, "How many times she gonna change? Does it
Yes.
matter?"
And I don't care. She could have came out there with 60 pairs of shoes and
Thank
changed
you.
them,
Because
okay?
I would have
She
loved to see
earned
that
it.
show of her shoes. Thank you.
Yes, she earned it, okay? Leave
Mhm.
her alone. She wanna look at her mirror, make sure her lip gloss is popping. She
Thank
can
you.
do that.
She
She
can.
earned that right,
And then
okay?
some, because most of the ladies around today would not even be here
Hello.
without that way being paved by them.
Hello. Mariah won't even let you oh Lord Jesus
Photo
help me.
him.
Photographer? Okay, Zarifa. She won't even let you photograph her from a particular vantage point, okay?
Right,
So leave her
exactly.
alone. Leave Patty
Mm.
alone.
Y'all need to put some spec on it. Put some
Hello.
respect on their names. They keep it
Exactly.
moving.
And then
Mm,
Gladys came out letting you know that she may have had to take the range down an octave, but sis can still sing. Okay, and she
yes,
can
she can.
dance. She
What?
got up, well, love overboard. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, hit him with the shoulder.
Whoop. Oh, get it, Gladys.
With
Go
your
ahead,
sequence
Soror.
business suit. I ain't mad at it, okay?
Yes.
I ain't mad at it.
Woo, go ahead, Soror. Keep it stepping.
I know
Mm,
that's right. Then they had
mhm.
Dionne Ward come out
Yes.
sounding like she just smoked a whole pack of Benson Hedges. I ain't mad at it.
They had another pack of Virginia Slims in a coat pocket.
So I loved it. I was here for it. I can't wait to see what the next battle's going to bring. I
Mhm.
hope it's somebody interested because if not, I ain't gonna be here for it.
Yeah, I heard something
Um,
about something else on the radio for the next, verses.
what?
So I was driving, it was Janet Jackson and Missy Elliott, and, Swiss Beats was like,
Janet would kill Missy.
right, but Swizz says the other way around. And they was like, "What? Please. Come on now." And the other person was the chick was like, "Well, Missy got people outside in the rain in garbage bags. Janet didn't have that." And he was like, "Do I need to go through all of Janet's albums and tours? Missy has been can't doesn't have her own tour like Janet.
No,
Come on
no.
now.
Come on
Have
now.
several
No,
suits.
nope, nope,
Have
nope.
several
I
suits.
love Missy. It's
Yes,
no shade to Missy, but
none.
I just don't think. But then again, I'll say this. I thought fully that Patty was going to kill Gladys. And for me,
Mm,
it was the other way around. I was like, damn, I didn't know. When she brought out License to Kill, I was like, you know what? Yes,
no.
yes, Queen. Yes. License to Kill. Go ahead and let them know you was on that James Bond soundtrack. Okay?
Do the damn
Let
thing.
them know. Let them know. um, but okay, so speaking of just iconic people, the
Mhm.
Emmys are this tonight,
Okay.
actually. Some
Mhm.
winners have already been announced. It's virtual this year. Jimmy Kimmel is hosting. I'm
Mhm.
going to watch just for the basis of the fact that it's virtual, and I just want to see how this all plays out because I'm
Mhm.
going to assume that other award shows are going to probably have to follow suit. If you don't know, um, I am a connoisseur of award
She
shows.
really is, y'all.
The
She
Emmys have
really is.
never been, like, the biggest one for me, but the Golden Globes, the SAG Awards,
Mhm.
the Oscars, I'm all about it, so I'm
That's
very
her
curious.
jam.
That is my jam, okay? That's my jam. I am a Some people will let you know when we get to the movie season time, I am a movie snob. I am, and I fully live in that, okay? Judge
It's
your mama.
perfect.
Judge your mama, don't judge me. But I'm just saying so I'm getting off topic, but I love award seasons. So it's virtual this year. There are a lot of nominees are African American. You got Don Cheadle, you got Anthony Anderson, you got Issa Rae
Mm.
for Insecure, you got Tracy Ellis
What?
Ross, you got Mahershala Ali, you have Eddie Murphy for his guest stint on SNL, which I believe he has already won the award for.
Oh, wow.
You have Regina King for Watchmen, excellent show. If you
Oh.
haven't watched it, check it out. Kerry Washington for Little Fires Everywhere, which was
Mhm.
actually really good as well. If you haven't seen that,
Have to
check
put
it
that.
out. Both of
Mhm.
them I give 5 tea leaves out of 5 tea leaves, so definitely check that out.
Okay.
Billy Porter is nominated for
I
Pose,
love
which
him.
I do too, but there was some drama behind it because some of his castmates felt like, where are their nominations? And there's some
Ah,
discussion as to the fact that they're transgender and people aren't really recognizing transgender
oh,
individuals. But then
gotcha.
Laverne Cox got nominated. So it's kind of like,
Mhm.
there is some, I do think
Yeah,
some room for more inclusion
inclusion, definitely.
and the awards. But, um, you know, I don't want to say little steps. We can do better. We can
Yeah,
definitely do better.
yeah, especially since, Billy has been getting a lot of attention for the show, so it should
Mhm.
have brought the other actors and actresses up to a little bit more openness and, folks being able to observe what they're doing so that they could be considered and awarded accordingly.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, I think it's a gateway into that world, and I think maybe
Yes.
folks are just maybe trying to figure out what does that all look like now. But Pose is in its what, 3rd season? 2nd
It'll be in
season?
its 3rd season. It's
Yeah,
going into the 3rd season,
yeah.
so excellent show as well.
Yes, it is. I
You
need to
know,
catch up. All these shows I'm gonna
definitely
catch up
something
on
I
covering.
recommend. Um,
Mhm.
and so then last I have watching and listening. So if you are all familiar with Amber Riley, uh, she probably is more well known for Glee.
Mhm.
She has 2 songs out. One is A Moment, and it was kind of like a nod to her friend Naya Rivera, who was also on that show, who recently passed away in an
Mm.
accidental drowning. And
Mhm.
then she has this song called Big Girl Energy, which I love. The visuals for it are so dope. So I give both songs about a 4 out of 5 tea leaves. She
Mhm.
definitely has that vocal range and she should be getting more attention, but I think it's also that inclusion. She doesn't
Mm.
look like the typical
Pop
girl that
star.
they push out into the
Mhm.
forefront. So I definitely say give those 2 things a try. And my husband and I watched Antebellum.
Oh, yeah, that
This
came out last week this
it came
weekend,
out
right?
yeah, it came out on Friday. We both have different opinions on it. He absolutely loved it. For me, I don't know. I'm still kind of trying to process it. I think if I was in a better mindset, I had just watched it. I just found out that RBG passed away and
Mhm.
then start watching it. So
Yeah,
my mindset was just not probably in the space that it could have been in to really
right.
fully pull that
That's
in.
fair.
But I mean, I would say give it a try if it's on demand,
Mhm.
$20. It's cheaper than what it would be if you took you and your husband or you and your spouse or you and your partner to the movies. So
Mhm.
check it out and then let us know what you think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
please.
but yeah, I don't want to rate it yet because I'm still trying to process it all.
Fair
Um,
enough.
so, okay, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we will jump right into our tea time segment.
back. Thanks, everybody, for returning. Now we're going to jump into our tea time segment. As we said in the beginning, today's topic is Mirror, Mirror on the Wall. Am I worthy of this all? The imposter syndrome. So, have you ever felt like you don't belong? Your friends and colleagues are doing a little bit more than what you're doing, that they're going to think you're a fraud, or that you maybe don't deserve all their accolades that you've accumulated to this point. Those kind of thoughts can be attributed to a phenomenon called imposter syndrome. So it can be categorized as a psychological pattern, where you doubt what you're doing and your accomplishments if you should be there. You have this internalized feeling of, oh no, are they going to find out? Is this really who I am, and are they going to accept me for this? And once they find out that I'm not really as good as they think I can be, if you're going around and your competence that you've expressed to everybody or been able to just demonstrate, you still think, if they only knew that this really isn't me being able to manifest these things to look as good as they think I look. And then you kind of maybe don't attribute your success to your hard work, your persistence and dedication. You kind of think that it's just luck. I've had some lucky breaks, things have been able to roll on, and I've just been able to be in the right place at the right time, but you don't give yourself credit for that. Or and please understand this affects men and women. We're talking about women primarily, but it definitely can manifest in both men and women. But a lot of such studies have suggested that at least 70% of people experience this, and at some point in their career. And it could be your career, it could be your social life, it could be your relationships. It definitely can take shape in different areas of your life. Something to definitely, to think about. So looking at this with the imposter syndrome, there's a couple subgroups and categories that can be attributed to how this is working. And from her book, The Secret Thoughts of Successful Women, Why Capable People Suffer from the Imposter Syndrome and How to Thrive in Spite of It by Valerie Young, she was able to identify 5 subgroups that this syndrome falls into. So we're going to go through them, and Z and I are going to talk about them. And, some of these, take note that you may feel that they may be you. So one of them is called the perfectionist. You set high goals for yourselves, you experience major self doubt. If you don't, really reach those goals, and you kind of internalize it to the point that you're like, am I really worthy to keep going on? Or you frame requests for different things. Um, and and oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. So you frame different things as far as, are you being a micromanager? Are you having difficulty in delegating things? If you mark something done and being cut out, do you and it's not done to the extent that you think it should be, do you feel like you failed at it, and then you sit and think about it for days and days and figure out, well, I could have done it this way better, I could have done it that way if I would have done could there's a lot of coulda, woulda, shouldas, and there shouldn't be, but that's how you feel. And then another big one is a superwoman superman complex, which is something that we're really going to do a deeper dive into for next week's show. And you got to convince yourself that you're a phony, you push yourself harder than you really measure up to. So are some of these things, they may apply to you. Do you feel
Mhm.
like you stay later in the office than you should? And you go on and put a lot more work in than your teammates, and you kind of look back at yourself and said, did you do enough work? Did you put enough time into getting done what you need to get done? And then if you're not finishing what you think you should be finishing, are you seeing your downtime as wasteful, that you should be putting your time back into getting something done, and you're just trying to overcompensate for whatever you're trying to do? And then do you really feel if you've earned the title that you have because of all the work you're doing? And even though you have degrees and achievements and certifications, do you feel like those things don't really measure up to what the worth is that you think you are? But it kind of makes you think, well, is this really me? Am
Right.
I really going to be able to handle this? Are people going
Right.
to find me out because I take on everything? A lot of Black women, I think, suffer from this because we a lot of times are heads of the household and stuff, and um you kind of try to back off and try to give yourself some space to say, like, I can't do everything. But those are one of those
Right.
things, that happens.
So,
And mhm,
with these 2, I will say this. With these 2, um, it's kinda like, for me, I'm in these 2 categories specifically.
mhm,
I realize that. And the reason why I realize that is because these things, when I ask myself these questions, this is me. This is
mhm,
totally me. Like, when I was a supervisor, I did have a difficult time delegating. And this was actually something we were talking about previously, with setting boundaries. It's hard to set boundaries and make sure that you yourself keep these boundaries in place in your life to kind of keep some peace. So for
mhm.
me, I am the perfectionist. I am the superwoman. I feel like I have to do it all,
All
just
the time.
every facet of my life, in my job, at home, right? Like,
Mhm,
I feel like if I'm not giving 175% at all times, I'm going to be found out that I am a complete and utter fraud, that I am not as
mhm.
well educated, as well accomplished, as well versed as everyone thinks that I am. Or
Right.
as well, I'm not going to be seen as a good wife because I'm not doing this and I'm not doing this. Or I'm not going to be seen
Mhm,
as a good mother because I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that. So I think for me specifically, I suffer from these two. I fall in these two subgroups.
right.
And there's another one that I definitely fall into, but these two
Mhm.
spoke to me out loud.
Do you think that most of us feel there's more of us that feel this way than not? That,
Oh, absolutely.
and don't take stock of that?
Absolutely, I feel like we do. Especially the Superwoman complex, which I know we said we're gonna get into, in the next episode, but
Mhm,
I feel like if people ask themselves the questions that you pose, like, do you have difficulty delegating? Do you stay later in the office? Do you feel like you haven't truly earned your title? I think if people start to sit with themselves and think these
mhm.
things through, they'll probably find out, like, "Oh, crap, that's what that is."
Feeling. Mhm.
And it's
Definitely.
insecurity, right?
Yeah.
It's the insecurity that you have.
It just shows up different ways and
Yeah,
you kinda have to push through that, but
yeah.
it's good to know. So, moving on to some of the other ones, the natural genius is another subcategory. And those are the folks that everything just comes so easy to them. They're just like they figure it's speed over the efforts. It just is one of those things they don't have to think about too much. It's natural. It's just one of those things. And are these things applying to you? Are you excelling without much effort? Do you have a
Mm,
track record for getting gold stars for everything you do? Were you told frequently that you're the golden child, the smart one in the family or
mm.
peer group? Do you dislike, the idea of having a mentor because you know what? You think you know it all. So why would I need someone to tell me something? But I don't see how you could do that because someone had to teach you, or unless you just take the efforts to say, I learned this on my own. So, it's
Mhm.
just one of those things. Then, if you're faced with a setback, your confidence just is like, just totally shoots to the ground, totally takes a tumble because you're like, "I can't believe that I didn't know how to do this."
Huh, right.
And it's like, I can't, the shame that comes with it or that you put on yourself is like, "This is a setback that I can't handle." And,
Mhm.
do you avoid challenges, to push yourself because it's something that you don't know? Is it too uncomfortable for you? Because you know what? I know my lane. I'm good. I need to stay where I am,
Huh, yep.
so I'm not gonna venture out past what comes easy to me
Mhm.
you know? And then, looking at the soloists, this is a big one I think a lot of people have
Yeah.
challenges with,
This is the
right?
3rd subgroup I'm definitely I'm all up and through this,
Right?
okay?
I'm telling you, I think this one is more prevalent than most. Some things to consider. Do you firmly believe that if you don't that you need to accomplish everything on your own? Like, you don't need anyone's help. You don't want to ask for help. If this sounds like those are some things that you could challenge that are challenging. Do you ask for, you frame requests as requirements instead of saying that I'd really need help with this. You just kind of state, hey, these are the things that I need. And how do you deliver those messages to others so you don't feel weak? And what's your tone? And then there's the expert. They measure their competence based on how much they know or what they can do. And how do you know if this applies to you? Do you shy away from applying to job postings unless you meet every single educational requirement? And you beat yourself up about that. Are you constantly seeking out trainings or certifications to improve yourself? And you put more stock in those certifications than your own talent. And even if you've been in a particular role or position at work or what have you, you're like, I don't even know if this is what I should be doing.
Right.
You just kind of start doubting yourself, like, am I really as good as they say I am?
Right. Right.
That kind of freaks you out. You don't own your own knowledge base, and you're more definitely prescriptive with your list of things that you should be doing, and you let the certification or degrees dictate your presentation of
Yeah, a
things.
lot of us, I think, like if we really look at it, we probably can fall into one or all
Mhm.
five of these categories, depending,
Definitely.
right? And it's not just at work, it's also in our relationships,
Definitely.
our intimate relationships, and our familial relationships, and our girlfriend relationships. We can feel like we are an imposter, like
Mm.
I'm going to be found out, and once I'm found out, this is all going to go away.
Yep.
Which is, if you think about the episode last week when we were talking about your friends, you might find that some people who are in the who suffer greatly from the imposter syndrome may be your surface level friends.
Yeah.
They keep you at the surface because they're afraid of
Good
you
point.
thinking that they're
Mhm.
not who they really say they are.
That's so true.
So instead of having to deal with that, they'll just keep you at bay, and they'll just give you the
Mhm.
surface level things because they don't need to then worry about.
What you think of them.
Right. And
Mhm.
so, we when we're having that conversation, you can look at some of the characteristics that come into play when we're dealing with the imposter syndrome.
Mhm.
There's a lot of self-doubt that gets attached to that. Like, I am fake and I'm going to be found out.
Mhm.
I am not a good girlfriend. I'm going to be found out. I'm not a good wife. I'm going to be found out.
Mhm.
I'm not a good mom. I'm going to be found out. I'm not a good friend. I'm not a good employee. I'm not a good
Mhm.
boss. Whatever it is, if you have those self doubts, it could be that imposter syndrome is the root of it. It's at the
Right.
root of it.
Mhm.
Um, an inability. Natalie had mentioned this before, to realistically assess your competence and skills. Instead of you just saying, I'm good at what I do because I'm a bad bitch and I'm a boss bitch and I know what I'm
Hello.
doing,
Own
you
it.
say, oh, I lucked up that time. I
Mhm.
only got that because I was in the right place at the right time and things just kind of fell into place. You
Mhm.
don't really acknowledge the hard work and dedication that you put into it.
You don't own
Um,
it.
you don't own it. Attributing your success to external factors. Oh, it was just a fluke.
Mhm.
That was just a fluke.
It's just
It
one of
won't
those
happen
things.
again. Oh,
Yeah.
Venus was in Mercury or whatever.
All my planets aligned. My horoscope said it was working out today, and it did. So Imma just go with that.
Exactly. You berate your performance. Yours.
This is not a good one.
This is a lot of negative self-talk.
Mhm.
Oh, it wasn't that great. Oh, I didn't do that well.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm not that competent.
Right.
You know,
Downplay, which is never
everything.
good. Mhm.
You fear you won't live up to expectation. Here's the key with that. Whose expectations are you trying
That
to live up
part.
to?
Right.
Did somebody tell you I expect the X, Y, and Z? A
Mhm.
lot of times, if you find out, you'll find out that people have never really told you what their expectations were. Did your child say, I expect you to be this type of mom? No,
Mm.
they did not.
Nope. She wake up one morning and she looking at you like, "Look, I expected this to happen based
She just
on this
wants to be,
contract."
exactly. Your child he or she just wants to be loved.
Right?
That's the
Exactly.
expectation they have as a child.
Pick
You
me
know
up,
what I mean?
feed me, and put me to
Right.
sleep.
Now, that's not to say that there aren't expectations that your friends set and that your significant other may set or your boss may set, like in your evaluations and things like that. But a lot of the times we are trying to exceed those expectations.
Mhm.
And then that's where the fear comes. But who put those expectations into place? You did.
Yep. For no
You did,
reason.
for
No
no
reason.
reason. That's it.
You limit yourself.
Right. Overachieving, which has been one of my biggest downfalls. I feel like I have to overachieve. Like,
Mm.
failure is never an option. And again, we're going to talk about this more in detail next week. But I think a lot of African American women and women of color deal with this particular issue
Mhm.
more so than not. And we
Yeah.
deal with it in our relationships, we deal with it in our parenting style,
Yeah.
we deal with it at our job. We
Definitely
try
at her
to
job.
overachieve
Mhm.
and then we burn out
And wonder why.
and wonder why. And
Yeah.
wonder why. Um, and then sabotaging your own success. Something else that I do. I overthink. We overthink. Or you give up. You're like, oh,
Mm,
you know what? This is never going to get done. I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm not going to
right.
be successful in this relationship. I've been trying and trying and trying. This isn't going to work. I
You
just give
talk
up.
yourself out of it.
Right. Or you set very challenging goals and feel disappointed when you fall short.
I
You
do
tell
that.
yourself, I'm going to be CEO by the time
Mhm.
I'm 30. Bitch,
Hello.
where?
Of your life, you can be CEO of your life at 30 because you ain't got no other employee but yourself.
And I'm not saying, don't, I'm not discrediting anyone that has actually happened to and for, but what
Mhm.
is the probability? Let's look at the probability of that happening.
Mhm.
You understand what I'm saying? The probability and the hard work that you really have to put into it. And
Mhm.
then a lot of times we get to those goals and realize that ain't even really what we wanted.
That part. You get there and you're like, "For this? That's not really what I thought it was gonna be." And I
Hello?
realize it's not what I wanted at the
Exactly.
end of the day.
Right. And so then what happens, right? We start to get into this cycle, the imposter cycle. And it's anytime anything new comes, whether it's a new project, some ambiguous email from your manager, a
Mm.
request from your spouse, your child has, uh show and tell and
Mhm.
who knows, a
A
bake off
project.
between parents, right? And then you're like, "Oh crap." If you have the imposter syndrome at this point, you're going to start to freak out.
Right.
And then it's going to set off a predictable cycle. Keyword, a predictable cycle. And because it's
Mhm.
predictable, it means that you can do something about it.
Right.
It's a predictable cycle of worrying, self doubt, and fear. So, how does this entire cycle play out? And listen to this. When you hear this cycle, you're going to be like, oh shit,
Right.
I do this all the
All
time.
the time.
All the time. You get faced with an achievement related task, meaning there's a task and you have to achieve something. There's a
Mhm.
goal, right?
Endpoint.
Th- then you start to experience anxiety and self-doubt and worry. You get put on this big project and you have to present a presentation to the board of directors.
Mm.
Then you're like, oh shit, I have to present a presentation to the board of directors.
Right.
What the hell?
I'm freaking out.
This has happened to me where I had to put on a presentation for some members of the house and some of their staff members. And I got the task and I was like, yes, I'm a bad bitch. And then I was like, oh shit, I got to do this. Whoa, hey, wait a minute. I don't
Back
think I'm the
up.
right person for this
Right.
job. And I don't think I have enough qualifications. And I don't think that I'm ready for this. And I'm not. And
Mhm.
that's when it started. Okay.
Yes.
So then this makes you go into either two lanes. You over prepare or you procrastinate. Sometimes you do both.
Right.
I am a over preparer, okay? I am an over preparer. So I definitely go into, and that's what happened. I started to over prepare. I was going to go and look for stuff that didn't even pertain to anything, but slightly might have mentioned what I was supposed to present on, okay?
Just
Because I just needed to be prepared.
in case. Like a Girl
Oh,
Scout. I'm prepared.
right. Oh, we're talking about intellectual property. I'm gonna find some real property also, just to make a correlation, just in case.
Just in case.
Just in case.
While I'm at
Okay.
it, I'm gonna look up some real estate law just to help those other properties out.
Right. And I
Just
might try
be
to find a recipe that I can say correlates with the intellectual property that we're talking about right now. Okay. Over prepared.
Oh my god.
So then when the task gets accomplished, right? We've achieved the goal.
Mm.
It's often then attributed to the over preparation or the or luck because you procrastinated, and not to your natural abilities and
Mm.
skills and competence. You never will attribute it to that. And that's what I would do. I'm like, woo, you know why I was successful in that? Because I over prepared.
Thank you.
But guess what? All that shit I over prepared, I ain't used none of it.
At all. You just got a
Didn't
whole
use
stack
not
of
one
stuff,
piece of shit I did, okay?
but it's over there in case.
Right.
In case of shit. Just in case.
Right. And then you get this positive feedback. Oh my God, that presentation was great.
Mhm.
Oh, mom,
That was
my
great.
friends love those brownies you made. Oh, honey, that trip you planned for us was phenomenal,
Amazing.
right? And then that positive feedback you receive, you're gonna start to discount it.
Mm.
Oh, they don't no, it
There's
wasn't
no
that
big deal.
great.
It's
They're just
okay.
doing that to make me feel better.
I
They
could have
just
done this instead or
right. I
mhm.
could have done that a little bit better.
Right.
They just don't want me to feel bad. I probably bombed.
Mhm. They're just
They
being
just wanna
nice.
hurt my feelings.
Mhm.
So then it leads to sustained feelings of perceived, and
Mm.
perceived is a key word. It's perceived. It's not real. You perceive it. But remember I said before in our last episode, your perception is your reality.
Yes. It really
So
is.
then you perceive fraudulence, self-doubt,
Mhm.
anxiety, and then depression. And then guess what? The shit starts all over again.
All
Cuz you
over.
get another task.
Mm.
And we can constantly see ourselves going through these cycles through
All
our
the time.
lives, through our
Mhm.
relationships. And we believe, no matter how unrealistic it is, we believe that at any point, somebody's going to expose us for
Mhm.
who we really are. And that's what keeps the cycle in motion. And it's hard for us
Mhm.
sometimes
It's
to
scary.
really sit in the fact that you have achieved and attained all of this knowledge, all of this experience. You know
Mm.
what you're doing. Sometimes it's hard for us to accept that about ourselves. And
Mhm.
again, African American women of color, women tend to fall into this pattern a
Yeah,
lot more, in my
definitely.
opinion.
Dealing with the expectations of life that society has placed on them and what they have
Yeah.
to live up to and look perfect for and
Mhm.
so and all of these things they occur in different settings. Where can these occur? A new environment like ooh, excuse me, that Zarifa mentioned. You're going into a new job, a new neighborhood, a new space, and you're not sure how everything is going to be navigated. Looking at
Mhm.
academic settings. If you're in academia, I used to work in academia, and everyone is kind of like going up into the ivory tower, and people have their degrees, and then there's the sense that, well, I'm not as well versed as a tenured professor, or I don't have as many
Mhm.
publications as this person, and I didn't bring in this grant, and so you start doubting yourself and do I really need to be there?
Yeah,
You know?
or look at it from this other perspective, which happened to me. You could be in a situation where, okay, you're in grad school, right?
Mhm.
And let's just say you're all at, um, I don't know. Let's say, for lack of, you're all at Harvard Law
Mhm.
School. You're all there, but you didn't go to Harvard undergrad. You didn't go to an Ivy League in
Mhm.
undergrad. You went to, I don't know, you went to Shippensburg, you went to IUP, you
Mhm.
went to, a lesser known school. So then you get here and you're on campus and you're in this law class
Mhm.
and you're here with people who went to Yale and Princeton and Oberlin,
Yes.
Sarah Lawrence, Columbia,
All that.
and you're sitting there like, I don't belong
Challenge
here.
at all. How did I get here? I
I, I-
must I
right.
must have met the quota.
Right,
Something.
right. And you start to doubt
Yeah.
yourself, right? You met the quota. I was the quota.
Mhm. I was that token.
I was that token.
To
They
get
needed more
Mhm.
to balance things out.
Right.
And then the doubt starts.
Yeah. All of that. And that could definitely play also into your workplace we've already
Mhm.
talked about this, when you're given a new project, like Zarifa was saying, and you're like, "Oh my goodness, this is how am I gonna do this?" You got it and you're excited, and then you're like, "Wait, they're expecting me to come up with X, Y, and Z and present it in this way, shape, or form like I know it. And then that can also kind of trickle into how you interact with people when you go to a new event, if you're at a networking event, if you're at a new orientation at work or at school, or you're at a PTA meeting or something and you're trying to meet some other parents, and then you try to
Mhm.
sit there and like, "Oh, well, I don't parent like this person," or that person seems to be as organized with their kids, and you could be sitting over there like, "I didn't even know my kid had this schedule."
Yeah.
Or we were supposed everybody came to brought their kids to school with a backpack and a purple crayon, and you're like, they needed a backpack, like, just and you get there, you just feel overwhelmed. You're like, I'm not a good parent right now because I
And
forgot this.
that is hashtag facts. I think with the imposter syndrome for me, the environment that I think sometimes I suffer with it the most is in social interactions.
Mhm.
People naturally think that I am an extrovert. And
Mhm.
I understand why people naturally think that I'm an extrovert. However, I am an introvert. Social
Mhm.
interactions with people I don't know really bother me.
Mhm.
And I feel like sometimes I may come off standoffish or a little aloof when I meet new people. If you're listening and I've ever done that to you, apologies. It's not you, it's me. It's this fear of I don't they're going to find out I'm not that cool
Mhm.
or I'm not that funny
Mhm.
or I'm not that smart or I'm not that bright
Right.
or I'm a bad friend or I'm a bad
Mhm.
mom or I just suck overall. So I distance myself
Mhm.
or I'm awkward. I'm the awkward black girl. Again, people are listening to this like, bitch, stop lying. I'm telling the truth here. My friends can attest to that. If I'm with
Yes.
my friends in a situation where there
Yep.
are people that they're introducing me to, there is a lot of awkward interaction sometimes for me because I suffer from that syndrome. I don't want to
Mhm.
be seen as as a fraud or fraudulent. And but guess what? Who's saying that? I
Right.
am. Ain't
Telling
nobody telling me
yourself.
that.
That is so true.
I get on my own damn nerves. Okay, sometimes
Mm.
I'm like, bitch, chill out, relax.
Relax, relate,
Gee.
release, relax. That is so true. To see, that made me think when I first came to Pitt that I felt like I was an imposter as a black girl, so to speak, because I
Mm.
grew up around all white people. I was the only black girl in my high school, elementary school, junior high. We're still the only black family in our neighborhood. And then I go to Pitt and I'm around all these other black people. And I'm just, they're like, oh, you don't talk black enough or whatever that means. And I just try to act cool. I just acted myself. And they're like, how do you not know that? You just got your black card revoked. Or did you have it at all? And you try to measure up to that. And you're like, well, am I really down enough to be around everybody here? Am
Mm.
I cool enough? Am I gonna say something that, like, is not gonna be okay? Like, that's radical, dude, and everyone look at me like, "Okay, black people don't say that." So, so and now I'm being an imposter because they're like, "Oh, you're not really black. You're not black black. Like, you kinda black." So, those types of things. And it plays into your relationships and how you interact with people. Which comes from the social interactions as well as a romantic opportunity that
Mm.
may present itself. And whatever that person may think of you, what their perception of you is, that you're like the best thing since sliced bread, and you
Mhm.
feel like a 3-day-old Popeye biscuit, and they just, and they're like they just gonna bite into me and they gonna push their teeth and it's not gonna work out, and I'm not gonna have no milk or nothing to wash it down because it's just too much.
Look, let me tell you, so before when I met my husband, one of the things that I did, and a lot of people say, "Why the hell did you do that?" But one of the things that I did was I laid it all out on the table, right? I put everything out on the table,
Mm,
and I said, "This is me. This is who I am." Because like the imposter syndrome is something that I know I've suffered with. So I try to do things to counter that. So I said, "Here it all is. It's all on the table. You know who I am. You know what I'm about. You know. So if you don't want to deal with it,
mhm,
you don't have to. And don't
mhm,
ever put me on a pedestal because as soon as you do that and I do something that you don't like or you disagree with, I'm going to be taken off that pedestal
quick,
quicker than
that's
a
how.
quicker. Okay?
Mhm,
So, but a lot of us don't do that, right? We go into the relationships and we don't let somebody know who we fully are.
it's a representative.
Right. And then we're afraid that we're going to be found our natural self always your who you are is always going to come through. And
Uh-huh.
so when you're in it 6 months, 9 months, a year, you're like, oh crap, this person's still with me.
Mhm.
They haven't I'm going to be found out at any time that this isn't, but that is you because you
Right.
can't hide your true self but
But
for
for
so
so
long.
long, because it's gonna come out.
It's going to come out. So a lot of us tend to struggle with this in our intimate relationships because we think that we can who we are doesn't ever really shine through. And it
Mhm.
does.
It
And if that
does.
person's still rocking with you a year, 2 years, there's some people who are married probably 10 years still feeling like an imposter in their relationship.
Oh, most definitely. It's more apparent than not, and more common rather than not. Just folks won't, you know, I guess reveal that to themselves, or they just rather live within that confines of that perception
Right.
for that reality to exist
Right.
for them. And then we think about all these things. Well, where do these things come from? What are some factors and connections that can cause this imposter syndrome? And what is the relationship between these things? It comes from family expectations. You try to
Woo!
live up to what your parents or your siblings or what have your parents or may not intentionally do this, but may measure you up against your siblings or your cousins
Mhm.
in my day we had this going on, and now you're like, well, I need to do this track, or this is, expected of you, and what have you. And that's kind of what drives you along. And if you don't live up to it, your life is over,
Mhm.
or you feel like that, or you have overprotective parents and legal guardians. My parents, God love them. They were definitely strict. They were overprotective. I couldn't go anywhere with anybody, with anyone at any time. And that I was very sheltered, and I don't think it was necessarily a bad thing, but it's definitely something that you don't get exposure to see that if you don't live up to certain things, it's okay.
Right.
Because if not, then your whole world could be shattered if you don't see
Right.
that stuff doesn't happen all the time.
Mhm.
So unfortunately, it could be definitely a huge detriment. Graduate level coursework. Whoo, girl, we know about this. Girl, trying
Mm.
to figure out, like, do I really should I be here doing this work? Do I even know how to do this work?
Mm.
Am I even good enough for that? I'm sitting here thinking about some of those things now as I'm getting ready to apply to some doctoral programs. Like, do I really should I even be getting this or no? And you start
Yeah.
questioning your qualifications, and I'm like,
Girl.
been in the business 12, 20 plus years. I'm published, but do I really need can I really can I do a dissertation? Can I defend a dissertation?
Let me tell you.
Mm.
Let me tell you this real quick. When I was in law school, my first year in law school,
Mhm.
first year, first semester, and every law school is different. But you don't get exams during the year. It's just at the end of the year, you get tested on whatever you learn. At the end of the semester, you get tested on whatever you learn. First semester, first exam, I'm sitting in this room with all these other kids, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I don't belong here. Like this is like some bullshit. Like I'm gonna fail. I'm not gonna be a lawyer. I don't understand what's going on.
Right.
And I was in the midst of my head and I said, "Oh, I just need to get up and go. Just quit, Zarifa, just go." And when I was saying that, this dude literally got up. We were only like 10 minutes into the exam. Guy got up, kindly folded his paper up,
Oh,
walked up to the front, gave it to the professor and walked out. That dude ain't never come back.
oh snap. What?
That dude never came back. And I sat there and I said, "No. Mm-mm. No, you could do this, Zarifa. You could do this."
Mm.
Because I saw somebody do what I said
You was
I
about to
wanted to
do.
do and I was about to do. And he literally got up like he didn't have a care in the world, like, "Oh, well, this
This
shit
ain't
ain't
for
for
me.
me." Packed that shit up, gave it to
Time
the
to
teacher, and
go.
walked right out.
Time to go.
And might I say, this person was somebody I looked at as somebody who had it all together.
Mm.
Having conversations with them, seeing them study, and I'm like, okay,
Mm.
it's like that. So we do go through that in our
Definitely.
graduate level coursework. It happens.
It does.
It does.
More often than not. That's why some folks are ABD. All but doctorate. Everything but they just can't get to that final punch to be like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm done and I've defended. But that's why some people never get it. They're just ABD for their whole life because they didn't
Yeah.
take that next step to
Yeah.
defend, you know? And then looking at the racial identities and how do you see yourself? What's your perception? Are you of mixed background? Or are you a cultural variability, and you trying to figure out, am I black enough? If am I ethnic enough for my culture? Am I, can I do it for the culture and be authentic about it? And you have to start questioning all those things about yourself. Attribution style, the way you explain a negative event about yourself. Do you self-deprecate all the time? And you're like, no, I'm not that good. And we talked about those things as well. Anxiety and depression and how those things can go together and the low trait self-esteem, like all of these three things can definitely intertwine as how you see yourself and promote um what you think your perception of yourself should be, or how people may see you and you don't believe them. And then playing into that perfectionism that we talked about in the beginning, and excessive self-monitoring, and with the emphasis on self-worth, like, you constantly check and grade yourself but never let yourself really be free and settle into who you are.
Mm.
Which is not good. You're not letting yourself be who you are, who you think you can be, because you're
Hashtag
totally
facts.
right, because you're trying to play up to what everybody else's expectations may be of you.
Hashtag facts.
And then you
Yep.
can't get out of that. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot.
It is a lot. And I think, like you said, factors and connections, that low self-esteem, if you're already coming into a situation with low self-esteem and low
Mhm.
self-worth, you are a prime candidate to experience imposter syndrome. A
Mhm.
prime candidate.
Definitely.
And we are going to have a conversation in future weeks about healing, right? How to heal properly. There are a lot of things people feel like they like, there are a lot of situations you can heal from that you probably don't even know.
Uh-huh.
And once you figure out where a lot of this stuff comes from, you can kind of not fix it, but work on it. A
Right.
lot of our responses are trauma responses. We've
Yes,
experienced
they
trauma
are.
at some point in our life, and then the
Mhm.
response to that is we're we respond based on that trauma. So a lot of times your lack of self-worth and lack of self-esteem is rooted in that trauma. And you have to go back to that to kind of figure out where that is and how to kind of work on it. And a lot of times it's you working on your younger self, talking to, if you
Mhm.
figured that the trauma happened at 16, it's you really are what you're doing is trying to give that 16-year-old therapy.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
a lot of what we experience as adults is rooted in something that happened to
I
us
know, yes.
in our youth, in our childhood.
Definitely. And you can't
So
figure out how to talk about it.
right. And so this kind of this is important because this is how one of the ways you can overcome the imposter syndrome, right? And it's not to say that it's not a disease. Like, I don't want anybody to think that it's like a mental
Mhm.
disease or like like a diagnosable mental illness. It's extremely normal. So if you're experiencing this, you're not abnormal. Like we
Right.
said, about 70% of adults have probably experienced this at some point in their career, unless you're
Definitely.
someone who's successful at failing up, which that's a whole nother thing.
Right.
Um, but when you identify what it is, now that you've identified it, you may be sitting here and saying, "Oh, that is what I've been suffering from my whole career. Oh, that is what I've been suffering from during this whole time I've been being a parent. Oh, this is what I've been suffering from the whole time I've been trying to be a wife or a husband." Um,
Mm.
as soon as you understand and identify it, how it affects you, and just how many, you'd be surprised how many great minds actually suffer from this, it'll
Mm.
help you push through those fraudulent feelings.
Right.
So, what are some ways you can kind of overcome it? Share your feelings, right? You can talk to people about how you're feeling. So, us even having this conversation when we started to think about doing this episode, we were talking through some things and realize that probably all of us have experienced this imposter syndrome at some level
Right.
or not, right? We always have irrational beliefs, and they tend to fester when they're hidden and when they're not talked about. That's why you'll hear me talk about it until I turn blue. Therapy is important, and
That
Black people, listen to me. Go to
get
therapy.
you some.
I'm not saying that you can't pray, you can't go to church, give it to God, but you need to give it to God and give it to somebody's couch.
Hello.
You need to give it to God and give a copay,
It's a
okay?
give it to God and give a that should be a T-shirt. Give it to God and give it to a copay.
Seriously, because it's so important to have someone to talk about your
Yes.
feelings and your fears to.
Someone who's objective,
Right,
who's not gonna judge you
right,
based on what you're going through.
right. And this might sound counterintuitive, but focus on others. Sometimes trying to help others in the same situation as you helps you help you.
Right. It's therapeutic for you.
It is.
That is definitely true, and it helps you work through certain things and see things through a different lens.
Yes, exactly. Assess your abilities. And this is something that I've done. Write down your accomplishments, write down what you're good at, right?
Mhm.
make a realistic assessment of your abilities. And when you
Yeah.
put pen to paper, sometimes you will see that, again, your perception is not your reality. The
Right.
reality is that you are more than
Than that.
enough.
More than enough.
You've accomplished so much. We had a conversation when we were preparing for this episode with our manager. And she was talking and she's like, "You know what? I had a conversation with Zarifa. I know what she did,
Mhm.
what her job entailed." And one day she was just talking to me about this presentation that she did with the House representatives. And then one
Mhm.
day she was just talking to me about this thing she did with the head of her agency. And then she went on this world tour. It wasn't a world tour. It was a I went from I went to LA, San Francisco, and New York.
Mhm. That's
And it was
world enough for us. It's
right.
cross country.
And I was actually with somebody who is probably extremely well known in the community in which I work, in the
Mhm.
copyright community.
Mhm.
Very well known. Like he's like somebody that people revere. And when I talked to her about this, she said, "I didn't even know." That's because sometimes we don't think our accomplishments and our achievements are even worth celebrating or talking about because we think we're frauds.
I
We think
love.
we're fraudulent. We
Mm.
don't want to, have that conversation. I
Right.
have work friends now that I feel like an imposter around sometimes because I feel
Yeah.
they're so much more accomplished and
Yes.
well versed than I am.
So true.
But you really need to assess your abilities truthfully and honestly, and I guarantee you will see that it's not as bleak as you try to make it to be for
At
yourself.
all. You kinda surprise yourself.
You
You
will.
know, it's definitely like our boss, my boss definitely when we have our PMAP and stuff like that, we try to he tells us to go back and look at our assessments, give our self-assessment of all the work that we've done. He's like,
Mhm.
because I think you all are great, but you may undercut yourself if you don't go back and look at your accomplishments. And I don't want to shortchange you either. And make sure you speak highly of yourself. Make sure you acknowledge the things that you've done for this program and yourself as you've gone through your work cycle. And
Mhm.
if you'll hear us in staff meeting, like, well, I didn't do that much. And most people say it, but then you come back and you look at all your accomplishments and you're like, oh, wow, okay, I really kind of do measure up with my coworkers or what my boss has
Right.
expectations of me.
Right.
You know,
And even with that, you still have to take some baby steps though, right? You
definitely.
can't focus on doing things perfectly, but focus on doing things reasonably well and reward yourself for taking the action.
Hmm.
Question your thoughts. Does it make sense that you're a fraud given everything you know? I'll give you an example. I had a boss who never wanted to do my evaluations.
What?
Never wanted to do my evaluations to the point
How?
where I had to write my own evaluations, rate myself.
Wait, what?
Yes, I did my own
Did
evaluations,
you get paid
gave
for
myself.
doing your own evaluation?
Yes, but here's the crazy part about it. So I had two evaluations that were due, and she had to do it. And she just was like, "I don't have time. You just do it yourself."
Right.
So then I did it, and then she
Wow.
wound up having to go. She wound up having to. I think she went on like a detail, and then in that, somebody else had to sign my evaluation. So I gave myself an outstanding for one and an
Uh
excellent for
huh.
the other. And the person who signed my evaluation came back and says, "Reef, why did you give yourself an excellent?" I said, "Huh?" He's like, "Why did you give yourself an excellent?" I said, "Because I assessed myself.
Right. And that was
I felt
excellent.
that that was an excellent." He said, "Zarifa, this is not excellent. This is outstanding. Why would you rate yourself as an excellent?" He was like, "I know you did all of these things. I would not rate
Right.
this as an excellent." He's like, "Why are you shortchanging yourself?" And I had to question my thought. Why the hell did I do that? First
Right.
of all, why did I do that if somebody's giving me the opportunity to just
Right. It'd have been all outstanding. Thanks.
shoot, outstanding, outstanding, bitch. I'm A plus plus plus. But I thought like I was, and I wasn't, and I wasn't. And he called me out on it. He said, "What are you doing? No, this is not outstanding. We're changing this." I said, "Okay, cool with me. That means more money in my pocket, bruh. I'm good." But we do that a lot. You need to question your thoughts.
Yes.
Stop comparing.
Mm.
Why are you comparing yourself to everybody? Everybody is unique and different. Everybody is here to do the job that they are supposed to do. Stop comparing yourself to other people. Stop
Please.
feeling like you're not good enough because this person has a Harvard education
Thank
and you
you.
went to Millersville University.
Right. It doesn't mean anything because it's all about how you apply that information.
Hello.
That's all about how you apply it.
It is. And we all know because we've all met people who have those degrees behind their name
And
and
you're
still
like,
dumb as a box of
how?
rocks.
And you're like, how in the
Hello,
hell?
45.
Mm, mm, mm.
He, I call him Lord Voldemort. What is it, Voldemort?
The
He
one,
who should,
who should
he
not
who
be
should be
named,
named.
Voldemort.
Hello.
And that's for all the
There's so
Harry Potter
many
fans
people
out
that
there.
I
You don't know.
know. Yes, Harry Potter. There are so many people that I know with degrees behind their name that don't know shit.
Oh my goodness,
Don't know
girl.
shit.
At
Can't
all.
tell me shit.
At all. Can't articulate themselves and ask them, well, what is it that you do? Well, I'm a such and such. I have this title, and they go by their title and not by what they do, and they cannot explain or
Right.
or at least convey to you, give you an idea of what it is they do. But they're quick to tell you your title. What
Right.
the hell does that mean?
Call me Dr. Smith. Bitch,
Mm, I'm
I'm gonna call you
executive.
what your mama called you.
Right.
Your mama named you Vernell. I'm gonna call you Vernell. They ain't calling you no goddamn Dr. Smith.
And I say I'm the executive curator of a particular property. What? I run my household. Thank you. That's my
Right.
job title. Don't take it away from me.
um, use social media moderately. This is the same connected to stop comparing.
Mm,
Why are you? What we and this happens specifically if there's this documentary out on Netflix called The Social Experience. Watch it. You'll probably be freaked out and stop and will cut off social media altogether. But social media is trained and designed to make you feel inferior
mhm.
to what you see because everybody's trying to live up to this standard that they cannot. Do you know that social media has caused the rise of plastic surgery?
Mm,
People are trying to look like
this
their
is
freaking IG filters and
just
Snapchat filters.
ridiculous.
Are you kidding me?
Come on now, that is not reality. Y'all know it is not reality. It is
Right.
perceived.
And no shade. Well, no shade. This is shade. Y'all, people are on here trying to live up to the Kardashians. These girls got more injections than a
Then,
damn chicken with antibiotics.
girl, mm. It did so. That is
Don't
crazy.
live up to that. You want to look
Mm.
like an ant where your butt don't match your thighs? Stop.
Said it every looking like a wobble with your bubble, but
Stop comparing. Use social media moderately. Stop fighting your feelings. Don't fight the feeling of not belonging. Lean into it and accept it.
mm,
Because if you do that, then you'll realize you probably do belong. You
you're
do
exactly
belong.
right.
You're
Think
in the
of that.
space. Own it.
Mhm. Own that.
If you're at the table, own it.
Mm. Embrace
Okay?
it. All of that.
And refuse to let it hold you back. No matter how much you feel like you don't belong, don't let that stop you from pursuing your goals. Keep going and refuse to be stopped. A lot of us stop. A lot of us stop.
Mm. Just
It's
'cause.
something that's happened in my life that I'm just like, you know what? I'm done. I can't do this no more. I did this 15 times. Do I really
Mm.
want to do it a 16th?
Hey, the 16th
But
time will
guess
be
what?
it.
The
Be it.
16th time may get it. Keep
I'm
going.
telling you.
You see people who graduate from college at 86.
Hello. That is real. My mom is still hoping I go back to med school. Mommy, no. It's not happening. It's not.
And let me tell you, if you do, I ain't calling your doctor your last name. I'm gonna call you Nat because that's what your mama named you. Okay. Okay.
All
Let's
right,
let's.
all right. Just so we're clear, I'm tracking. I'm tracking.
Oh God. Okay. Well, we're gonna go ahead and take a quick break, and then we come back. We're gonna get into the last sip of the day. Welcome back. This is the last sip of tea with your Hood Dalai Lama. I am your Hood Dalai Lama Z. I have written 11 books, but each time I think, uh-oh, they're going to find out now. I've run a game on everybody, and they're going to find me out. And that is attributed to Maya Angelou. Even the greats suffer from self-doubt. And you at this very moment may be having thoughts like, will I be good enough? What happens if I don't live up to everyone's expectations? However, At the end of the day, remember this: you are here for a reason. In this job, your business, your life, you are worthy. You are better than you think you are. You are smarter than you think you are. You know more than you give yourself credit for. Remember that and remind yourself as often as you need to. And that's the last sip of tea.
Thank you for joining us this week on Sippin' Tea with Nat and Z. You can follow us on Instagram at Sippin' Tea, Nat and Z _pod, and at Facebook, facebook.com/Sippin' Tea, Nat and Z, for upcoming podcasts, topics, guests, and news. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week. In our episode, we'll discuss the Superwoman complex and its effects on Black women. Enjoy your week, and remember, you are always enough.